Hi gang, Rob here. It is the evening of 24 September 2018, coming to you with an extended use knife review on a relatively new knife in the market of modern folders. This is the Benchmade Bugout. This particular one is the number 535 GRY. The GRY designation referring to the chromium nitride dark gray finish that comes on the blade and on the pocket clip. It also sports this Ranger green FRN handle with sort of a yellow goldish anodizing on the thumb stud and the two hourglass standoffs. Pretty cool. A neat variation to the normal satin blade blue handle Bugout, and the one I opted to own. I believe I reviewed this very version in a From the Sharpening Bench video a few months ago. Not this very knife, but the same version, and I loved it. And you know, the Bugout has had an interesting relationship with knife reviewers, I believe. Some guys really like it because it just hits a sweet spot for them in portability, size to weight ratio, cutting efficiency, all that good stuff. And some guys just can't see why on earth anybody would pay $130 for a plastic handled 3 3/16 inch knife that feels like a kid's toy. Let's talk about dimensions here for a second. Blade length is 3 3/16 inches of gorgeous drop point sexiness with a swedge. Blade stock thickness only 90 thousandths thick. That thickness coupled with that super high saber grind give you an amazing slicing tool. The handle is 4 3/16 inches and it's 394 thousandths thick, so just a little over 3/8 of an inch. Weight 1.9 ounces. 1.9 ounces. So you have a knife that's larger than a mini grip, smaller than a 940, but which weighs over an ounce less than either one of them. How about that? By the way, all the internals on this are black DLC coated, in case you're wondering. Now this example that I own happens to be one of the good ones. You know, you're going to hear a lot of reviewers talk about how the action and centering is lacking in some of these knives, and it is. The action's never going to be as good as any axis lock because of the lightness of the blade. Just the lack of mass alone kind of keep it from being a super free dropper with no blade play. I could probably adjust this to be free dropping with no blade play, but because it is really good in the pivot department. But right now it's just not quite there. Almost, but not quite. So, you know, that's something that is just a hazard of the weight of the knife. You know, having a super sweet swinging action in that axis lock open and close method is difficult to do when you have a blade that weighs as much as a feather, right? But the thumb stud opening is still awesome no matter what. It's just one of those classically designed Benchmades where all the thumb has to do is find the edge of the frame, and then just riding the edge of that frame, the perfect amount of thumb tension is built without you having to think about it. You just sweep your thumb along the edge of the frame, and there's perfect thumb tension to establish a detent, so to speak, and the knife just rockets out. Easily closed with a flick of the wrist, easily open with a flick of the wrist in the axis lock if you prefer that method. You know, here's kind of my take on this knife. I love it. I especially love this little shorty deep carry clip, which works absolutely perfectly. My take on this knife is that it's super, super sweet. I mean, I get the complaint that it feels like nothing in your hand, therefore it should cost $40. Okay? The counterpoint to that is that it feels like nothing in your hand, therefore It should cost 130 bucks. My point being, it's so well engineered and executed that you get a really, really usable utility knife at nothing in weight, and it's still strong enough to use hard. I mean, are you going to get some flex in that heavily relieved fiberglass reinforced nylon handle? Of course you will. So what? I'm not splitting lumber with it. I'm opening boxes, cutting up dinner, breaking down boxes, cutting through tape. And it weighs under 2 ounces. Here's the other thing, guys. Just look at it. There's nothing about this knife that doesn't need to be here, and it doesn't lack anything that it needs to have. Nice big generous lanyard hole if you want to use a lanyard. Don't know why you would on a knife this light, but so I think there's a reason the Bugout has been successful, even though some reviewers have almost made fun of its nothingness, its minimalist philosophy. But guys that get it in hand, myself included, carry it for a while and go, man, that's just a sweet knife. Man, that's just a sweet knife. You know, we almost forget about things like blade centering, although this one happens to be perfect. We forget about action that's not totally free dropping and free of blade play. You know, you adjust them as best they can and you just go about using them, and that's really the last time you think about any of that stuff, and you just constantly marvel at what a great knife it is. What a great knife it is. It's a great knife. It's not a piece of pocket jewelry. It's probably not going to ever be a valuable collection piece. It's a great knife. That's what Benchmade excels at. Beautifully designed cutting blades, great steel that's heat treated perfectly, with a grind geometry, and I don't mean their edge grind, I mean their profiling of knife that's designed to cut. Not quite Spyderco in that regard, but they're pretty doggone good at it. Let's take a look at this. Is, by the way, is sharpened at 16 degrees per side with a little freehand kiss micro bevel, probably at about 19 or 20. And boy, does it flip and cut. Any way you want to do it. I can do, if I don't have the camera in the way, it's actually almost silent, but I was missing my angle by just a little bit there. Wipe off for you. Okay. It's a freaking scalpel, boys. Absolutely a scalpel. By the way, Benchmade executed the sharpening choil and plunge grind perfectly on the Bugout. I haven't had one yet that I needed to enhance its sharpening choil, I don't believe. That's new tooling, right? I find the grip on the knife to be more than adequate, and it excels in all grips. Saber grip. The jimping is in the liners, and it's actually sort of effective. It sort of wants your thumb back a little bit from the front of the handle. Even with a .394 inches thick handle, the hammer grip, fairly secure. Draw cut grip, super comfy. Reverse grip, if you wanted to deploy it in a tactical situation, is really good. Draw cut grip, vertical draw cut. If I said that it's a really sweet knife, it is. You know, is it overpriced for the sum of its parts? Plastic handle, S30V blade, nothing exotic there in this day and age. You know, should it cost 95 bucks? Maybe. Are they selling them like crazy at 125 or 130? You betcha. So I can't fault them. If you don't own a Bugout yet, guys, just, you know, I'm sure there are going to be many variations of this knife because it's definitely getting traction in the market. Pick one you like and buy one or three. I don't think this is my last one. I really don't. I may end up with several of these depending on, you know, colors and blade finishes that Benchmade comes out with. It's sort of Benchmade at its best, really. And I love it. That's all for this one, my friends. Grace to you and peace from God our Father and the Lord Jesus Christ. And remember, the Word and my bug out are sharp.